up, gamers? I'm Jason.
I'm Julie.
And today on Dice and Dragons, we are going to be reviewing Clank Expeditions Gold and Silk, published by Renegade Games Studios. Now, we no longer have the box because really wasn't much of a box. Talk a little bit more about that in the review, but you can see the digital image that we have right in front of us. My hand is probably
in the image.
In the image, half there. I'm not sure. With that being said, Julie's going to tell you more about the game itself.
So like Clank, it is a competitive game for ages 13 and above. Plays 2 to 4 players and takes about 30 to 60 minutes to play.
And what do they need in order to play Clank Expeditions Gold and Silk?
They need the base game.
Yes. So this is an expansion to Clank. Just to tell you more about it, you do get some new meeples, just some nice fun extra flavor. You get a new double-sided board, one that can be played with the Silk, the Spider Queen. The other side gives you the opportunity to do some mining, which really changes up your scoring process just a little bit. So some nice new flavor, some more, components, tokens, things like that, and some much needed components. We have 10 gold finally. Taking them long enough. How many expansions? 2 before this. So, in any case, what time is it, Julie?
Time to grab our drinks.
Now we'll just have to make sure we get it away from the digital image, since no idea how big it's going to be before we actually insert it.
We're going to take it to the table.
No, I neglected to say, grab my fellow thief. And yes, as she said, we're taking it to the table. I hope this is just as good as the other Clank expansions.
You really like Clank.
Depends on the game. There are some things that I like and that I don't like. Don't worry, we'll talk about it in our review. Now we're going to take a look at the components for Clank Expeditions Gold and Silk. Now I believe they called it Clank Expeditions because there's 2 sides to this board and there are some different aspects to the sides. Now, let's start with the component that I do not have on camera, which is the rule book or rule page. It's got a nice list of all the components and the 2 new adventures, the Dwarven Mine, which is on the inverse of this, and then the rules for the Spider Queen layer, which is what we have in front of us. Now, you may be wondering why everything's so far zoomed out. I just wanted to showcase some of the new stuff on the board. You can see there's the new web mechanic that's going to come into play. There's also these passages that are going to be blocked by spider webs. When you clear them, it tells you how on the tokens you will gain points for them. So as you can see, this one is worth 3 points. Now, the other components that we do get in the game, we have this cute little kitty, which is not even on the component list. No idea why it's there, but I think it's just a fun add-on that they included. We've got the bonus scoring points for mining, which is something you'll be doing on the dwarf side. You've got replacement meeples just so that you can change up the flavor of your character. We have, of course, the new Spider Queen meeple. Pretty cool. On the Spider Queen side, we have a new 8 victory points artifact. We do get gold now in the denomination of 10, and we get more gold for the 5 and the 1 denominations. And then, of course, we have a market board. Having all of the Clank expansions, I think I've got about 3 of them now. Well, I'm going to try to make sure that this stays set up and in view, but we're going to flip the board over and take a quick look at the mining side. Now, probably not going to be all centered as nice as I had done with the Spider Queen. So as you can see, we have the new board. Now this is where you're going to place those bonus points. So there are three levels available, and then you have the new mining mechanic where you can get yourself some gold, and it's by getting the most of these areas mined that you earn those extra victory points. There you have it. We've taken a look at the components for Clank Expeditions Gold and Silk. Now Julie and I are going to come at you with a review of the game. So Clank Expeditions Gold and Silk. What did you think of this expansion to Clank?
Well, honestly, it's a subtle change when it comes to the board. I didn't really notice a big difference. You had to point it out to me. That's my take. I don't know if you saw it right away. I mean, on the mining side, it's a little bit more obvious with the mining that you can do. for some extra gold. But from the Silk perspective, I didn't really notice a big difference. It's very reminiscent of the original Clank.
No, it doesn't change too much, and I think that talks about some of, I would say, the failure of certain mechanics with regards to the game, and also the fact that we're playing it at 2 players. I do think that the Silk aspect of the game, and just to mention what they are, in Silk, you can use the Spider Queen's treasure, but to do that, you need to have 8 skill, which actually when we played, not one of us ever had. I think I had the opportunity to maybe buy one of those treasures once, and there was far better stuff for me to purchase in the marketplace. Other than that, there are certain passages that require you to spend an extra movement or spend the sword in order to
cut through the silk
and use the path, or you will sometimes have to spend a sword to cut and release a secret. So that's a big difference on the Silk side. With gold, what you're able to do is you can mine gold. It does take a fair bit of time, but the person with the most gold mined at the end of the game will get an extra 20 points. We had a nice 4-player game going, and it was a little bit of a factor, but
not really.
It really depends on sort of the cards that you get. If you get the extra movement that you can get in there and take advantage of the opportunity to mine, then I think you're good to go with it. But I don't think that opportunity presented itself very easily.
No, not very often, and the cost of the opportunity often made it not a valid option given other things that were probably more attractive.
Yes, because you can't move after you start mining. So once you go to mine, you can't move anymore. And it's also the same issue we kind of had with the webbing. Well, the webbing wasn't as annoying. You did get a few inopportune moments. If you didn't happen to pull a sword or a fight, you couldn't get a secret. And that's one of the things that I say that I really didn't like about the Silk board. I thought that the other stuff, the web was cool, but having to spend extra resources for the Silk, while it does make the game more complicated, I'd say just a little bit, and moves it up almost like from a nice base game to something that's a tier higher in terms of complexity. With regards to how you're going to build your deck, it didn't really feel that much more fun. And I think part of the problem is that we have Clank with all of the expansions. Mm-hmm. We have everything for the game, and we cannot separate the game. And part of me wonders if Gold and Silk would feel a lot better if that was maybe the only expansion that you had for the base game. Yeah. I think it had a nice little bit of flavor. I think it'd be a little bit easier to use. But that's just a thought that I have.
Yeah, I mean, our deck of cards is huge now when we're playing, and we often have, things from, the underwater one. I don't know what it's called. Sunken Treasures. We have stuff that comes from in Egypt.
Yeah, Mummy's Curse.
So, it's not, all the cards don't offer their full value in every game, but, and we don't see every card every turn. So, I don't know.
That's a frustration with Clank in general, because unlike most companies, and this is something that is a big knock to me on Clank itself, we've mentioned in our reviews of their expansion, there is no symbol for the expansions. If you want to know which cards are from which expansion, you got to hopefully go out there and find a card list of every single card.
That being said, it adds a little bit of variety. If you're playing Clank very, very often, if you're getting it to the table often, this is 2 different boards and 2 different styles that you can play that are still very much Clank, but that offer different dynamics to the game. I mean, I got a little frustrated at the end with the Silk, because there's basically a dead end from a movement perspective to try to exit. Is that one of the tactics that they did to try to slow the game down? I don't know.
Yeah, well, there's just Crystal Caves. She ended up with 5 movement, but she was on the wrong side of the Crystal Cave and couldn't escape. Luckily, she still managed to escape, and she beat me quite handedly. That was one of my issues. I was trying to get some secrets and things like that, and I kind of stalled some progress on a few turns. I think part of it was also due just to the giant size of our deck. So while this is a review of Clank Expeditions Gold and Silk, we're also just talking a little bit about Clank in general and how it's sort of evolved over all of the iterations. Now, I am looking forward to the Jungle expansion. I might just go out there and actually decide to find the Clank card list and separate everything and maybe even mark the cards myself just so I know. But coming from a gamer that usually likes to keep everything...
Sacrilege.
Yes, I like to keep everything in pristine condition and might be marking cards just so I can separate them. Oof, it's getting rough. So, with that being said, Julie, I think we've talked enough about this small expansion for Clank. Oh, except for the one thing. I hated the packaging for this. It came in a plastic clamshell. It looks great if you're hanging it on a hook in a retail location like Walmart. I don't know what they were thinking. I don't know many gamesters that use a lot of plastic hooks where they would hang a Clank expansion. Probably save some money, but seriously, guys, use a box next time. Just no.
Mm-hmm. So, why don't you give your rating first this time?
So, my rating for this, because you're getting a lot of variety, you're getting, in terms of two boards, two different play modes, which is actually different than some of the other expansions, which would give you a new play mode, new mechanics, but a two-sided board. I'm going to give this a 6. It's a solid expansion to the game. If you like Clank and you want more, this is going to give you exactly what you're looking for. I don't think it's something anyone needs to run out and buy, but it's solid and you're getting your money's worth if you know what you're getting into.
Yeah, it's a 5.5 for me. I mean, it's just an added player board, and I didn't really find that it added that much more.
You mean an added board?
An added board, what did I say?
You said player board.
Oh, an added board, sorry. So it didn't really add all that much, and the mechanics weren't different enough for me to really make a big difference. That's my take.
So, with that being said, what time is it now, Julie?
Like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell so you get notified when we have new content for you.
And you can take a look down below in the video description. You can find some pictures of us playing Clank Expeditions Gold and Silk. We played the game with the Cyberbard, so, you might see him in some of the pictures. We also have quite a cute picture, and it might be popping up besides my head of a component that I have no idea what's there, and it completely fascinated the cat.
There's also going to be links to other videos, probably at least one Clank review in there.
Definitely. And then down below in the video description, you can find everything else that you would need about the game, timestamps, and, maybe even a link. I'll probably put a link back to our Clank playlist because I think we've covered enough that it deserves its own playlist now.
And on that, I think it's time to grab our drinks.
Grab our fellow thief.
We're going to keep playing games.
I'm definitely going to keep playing games. Just not sure when we're going to be playing Clank Expeditions again. Kind of just want to play the nice, simple base game. Don't know why.
Don't know how we're going to do that.
Got a lot of work cut out for me. You going to help?
Nope.